Yes. Hello.
Hello.
How are we all? Every time.
Good. I know it makes me giggle every time, just as a bam, stop. Maybe that will be the aim for the new year: is a fade out with the theme tune.
For my Christmas, that's what we're going to ask for: is the ability to fade out. Not me personally.
Do you know what? That sounds a bit sad, actually. I just want to fade out. I'm going to get you. I'm going to pretend it's for your kids, but I'm going to get you one of those kids' keyboards, with the demo music on it. So just you can sit there and you press play and you just you can do the little kind of keyboard demo tune for the Blether instead.
It's going to be different every time.
I like that. I mean, yeah, we're nothing but inconsistent. Talk of which, you're in a completely different room tonight as well. You're somewhere different every week.
So I would love to say that there's some rhyme or reason to this. Crazy things happen when you have kids, and nobody tells you that, especially when you have a second one. So Bria Rose has been not well, so she's actually been taken into hospital just for a checkup because she's lost a bit of weight. So Tony's gone in the hospital with Bria Rose. Kaylin is upstairs, so I have to kind of be close by. I can't be in the garage with nobody in the house. But I went to go to the garage to grab some drams, and Tony's away with the garage key, so I can't even get into my whiskey anyway. So I thought, oh crap, I'm whiskeyless. But then I remembered I have this box of. I'm going to kind of do Lucky Dip tonight. Wow. Which it could be great.
So you shouldn't actually be dramless, and I need to apologise to Mark for this. Mark very kindly sent up a sample for us to share, and I just haven't got over to Inverurie because that road closure is insane. Is it I got trapped in Inverurie for 45 minutes trying to get from the garage on the bridge back out to the distillery. Is it still closed? I haven't been back.
No, it's open.
Oh my God. So I haven't been over this week, unfortunately, but I will get it to you maybe tomorrow. A bit late now for talking about it. I'm really sorry about that, but
Good excuse. It's a terrible excuse. I know. You managed to get all the way down to Brechin, but you can't get to Inverurie.
I did put it in the car thinking I would stop and pass Inverurie on the way back, but I got stuck coming off I'm really bad with roads, coming off, is it the A90 onto the Aberdeen West Periphery? By the time I got back, it was after 7, and I thought, I am not going into Inverurie and getting stuck in there as well. So it has been sitting in my car with the good intentions all week, but it just hasn't made its way to you, unfortunately.
I also have dogs, if you can hear them in there. I apologize. So we might have screaming, we might have dogs, we might have babies coming in. Oh, I was on tour today, which means I do have bottles, which is cool. I completely forgot I had that bag here. Tour drams.
There you go. We've got loads of people in on the drams tonight as well. Everyone was really quick off the chat. I think it's because they all saw who was coming on tonight. They're like, we've got the big guns out tonight. So we've got.
I don't think they were quick. I think we were late.
Well, there's a mixture of both.
So, we'll say good evening to everyone. Good evening to Neil, Frank, David is in. That's Jura. Hi to you. Dominic is in. Good evening, Dominic. Who else have we got? And Ian is in. Great to see you. Willis. Good evening, Willis. Willis is on the Durham Dramfest bottle of Glenglasser. Good evening to you. Neil says, great to meet you, Kat, at Glasgow Whisky Festival.
So thank you to everybody that came up to me at Glasgow Whisky Festival. Like, there was quite a few Blether and ones that I have seen before, ones that I hadn't. So yeah, they were very excited about. You obviously announced Mark at the end of the episode last week when my internet failed. So everyone was very excited to go from Adam to Mark in 2 weeks. So yeah, I've kind of maybe peaked out. Maybe I should have done this at the end of the year, but yeah, thank you for coming over and saying hello, folks. It was nice to meet you too, Neil. I hope it was before I got a bit boozy and started hugging everybody, but let me know if I hugged you. Please don't file any injunction orders if you met me at Glasgow.
I've been instructed by Callum to stick to the lucky dip. So we might just do that. There's bound to be a Highland Park in here somewhere.
Nice to see you back on, Callum. I think we missed you last week. Talk among yourselves,
guys. We'll get Mark on. Let's bring Mark in to the stage. Good evening, Mark. Hello, how are you?
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Hello. Hello. Hi, good
Everyone's
evening.
Yeah. Welcome to the Blether. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, and so I'm sure you probably heard me say thank you so much for that sample you sent up the road. I'm so sorry I didn't get it to Michael yet, but I will. It was very exciting, but I don't know if I will let you tell everybody about it, but we'll find out about you first before we show everybody, because it's a new whiskey, right? This is like a new release.
New whiskey, fresh, a freshie.
Nice.
Wow. Freshie. It comes out, officially in the new year. We sample for you guys.
Probably no cat's going to be new year till I get that sample.
Freshie. Some lucky people have had it before that, and it's been available in some countries before that, but it's a freshie. It's coming out soon, middle of January. So I thought it'd be nice for us to chat about, and for you guys to try as well. So yeah, I'm excited.
Amazing, thank you. Sometimes when we get samples sent, we're not too sure whether we're meant to reveal them on screen or not. So I always just wait, because Mike put his foot in it once when we got a sample sent, and the only thing that said in kind of bold was, "Please do not show this bottle on screen." And it was quite a big dog, sort of quite a big guest. And here's Mike, the little bottles on the screen. I'm messaging frantically. The one thing he said.
You can't take that back. You can't take it back. You can't take it back. So yeah.
It was cool. I don't think we've got enough of a viewing for it to have caused too much damage. So I think it's.
I don't think it wasn't the whiskey itself. It's because the label was handwritten and it wasn't on brand. Was the issue? It wasn't official labeling.
Yeah. I've been caught out like that before when I've been excited about something. So yeah, I feel that. I feel that pain.
No, it's nice.
Ian is asking, which of his W Club Highland Park should he start with? We'll ask you, Mark. The 15, the 16, the 18, or cask number 4?
Oh, it's a great question. I really like starting with the 15 at the moment, and I think it's tropical fruit. I think that's why. I think it's a nice ray of sunshine on a very miserable day that we've had today, which has been yellow weather warning and horribleness. So 15 super tropical fruits, nice start. I pretend you're on a tropical island for the rest of the set and go from there.
Nice.
It sounds good. Well, I think we should probably start with your story, because I was reading about you in the Hairdressers today, and you've got quite. That's how I roll. You've got quite the story. I thought I knew a bit about you, but when you actually go back, you've kind of skyrocketed in a very short period of time. It's an amazing story. So yeah, let's hand over to you. Who are you? What do you do? And how did it happen?
Yeah, I'm Marc Watson. I'm the Master Whisky Maker for Highland Park, which doesn't feel real to stay. I've been doing it for 8 months now, even a little bit longer than that. doesn't really feel a bit real. Like it's, you know, often describe it's like what's above a dream job. Like it's one of these weird things that you're like, it's never thought this would be attainable. So it's a nice feeling to have. It's like it's a really nice thing. But yeah, I did my first degree in sports and exercise science, and then took a swift trip to making booze. And I went back to Herriot-Watt. I was training to be an English teacher, and went back to Herriot-Watt to study brewing and distilling. And yeah, I was just really fortunate. That course is incredible, and it seems to be the jumping off point for a lot of people. And I always sort of describe it as like probably wasn't the best like introduction to brewing and distilling. I've probably seen better introductions but the actual format and the scaffolding that they sort of give around you and the science behind it is absolutely incredible. And then I always sort of describe it as an incredible handshake to the industry. Like you like there's loads of doors that get open, and there's loads of people that you get to meet, and loads of connections that you make, and those sort of generate just experience very quickly in your career and stuff. And I started off as a cask washer for broken ales. Like that was my first job in the industry, was washing casks down at Broughton Ales. But I very quickly realized that I didn't like beer as much as I liked spirits. And I think yeah. So I sort of did a bunch of stuff trying to figure out, sort of went on my like finding out what I liked and didn't like, and I ended up in Finland in import export, which is kind of cool because it really saw me as like in the commercial side of the business that I had no experience in at all. Like I didn't do an MBA, don't have any sort of business background. So working in Finland in import export is really formative for me. And then I came back and I worked in gin with Stuart Nickerson, which was really fun. And he ran Shetland Real Gin, and I moved up to Shetland, and he ran that place like he ran Glenglassaugh. Like everything was accounted for. Everything was like, you know, such attention to detail. And that's probably where I got my like real attention to detail from was Stuart. And then I moved down to Eden Mill, right on the cusp of the big gin boom. And just, yeah, lucky moves after lucky moves, I guess. It's just one of these things where, yeah, it's just been sort of a wild ride. And then moved to Bonington and was very fortunate to move to Halewood and built Chain Pier and Bonington Distillery with Halewood. And Edinburgh's my hometown, so moving back to Edinburgh, you know, I was at Eden Mill for a good while, was head of production there, and then moved to Bonington to take over all of the maturation and distillation for Halewood Group for the time, which was massive. Like I was super young, like I did, you know, these sort of businesses, these startup businesses, you don't have any peers or anybody that's doing it before because they can't afford two of you. So I was very fortunate that my boss like brought in really amazing mentors for me. Then I had like Bob Delgarno, who just finished at Macallan, who did a lot of work with me, and yeah, Stuart was really formative, and Nick Ravenhall and all these people just got me in front of the right people that like, they were like, oh, you want to learn? I'm like, yeah, I'd love to learn. And they were like, come and meet this person, they will teach you. Come and meet this person, they will teach you. And they were like I've been so fortunate with like mentorship all the way through my entire career. And then I moved to Holyrood, and that was amazing because I got to work with Nick again, and I had a great time at Holyrood. And then the Famous Grouse job opened up, and I've always been operations side, and like taking stuff apart has always been what I've been really good at. And working at probably like, you know, financial analysis probably would have fitted into that pretty quickly and pretty easily. And so operations just fit really nicely. And then, but like the best bit of my job was whiskey making, and it was always the smallest bit of my job, and it was also the least amount of time that I got to it. And I sort of made a choice, like I want to be a master blender, I want to be a blender full time, I want to do it professionally as opposed to just on the side, which it seemed like it felt like with every job. And when you travel about a bit and you work in operations, you tend to get further away from the liquid, and that was a bit scary for me. So yeah, I got a phone call saying, you know, the person from HR from Edrington, and I was out walking the dog, and I'm like, listen, I'm sure that you've had to make this call loads of times, don't worry about it, absolutely fine. It was really nice to meet everybody. Like, I'll take this on board, like any feedback would be appreciated. And she was like, no, I want to tell you you've got the job. So I was like, oh, okay, great. I was like,
Best dog walk ever.
I was like, I'm still out walking the dog. I just didn't feel real, and I was like, can you send over the contract as soon as possible so I can get it signed so it doesn't just disappear? Yeah, and then I've been very fortunate to be at Edrington, Famous Grouse. Gordon retiring, the job came up for Highland Park, and I've been working with Gordon for 2.5 years prior to that at Famous Grouse. So just continued that over in the handover, and here we are, and getting to talk to you lovely people and answer some questions from people. And yeah, it's just, it's fun. It's weird. I can't describe it. It's odd.
Yeah, I mean, it is quite the journey. And it is that thing when you get that phone call of like, you take a punt at something, you think, oh, that'd be cool if I got that job. In the back of your mind, you're like, it might not happen. And then you're obviously still in that stage of like, no, that really did happen. Oh my God, I've got that dream job. And you can kind of still see it in your face of like, no, wait, I am.
We've got David Stark is in the chat. He said he loves Highland Park. The dream when he started was to be the HP brand ambassador. Yeah. See, David, if you dreamed bigger, you could have been the blender, like Mark.
Yeah.
I mean, what's to say it can't happen? There could be an opening.
Exactly.
He's a young lad.
Yeah, 100%. Martin's been doing it for 20 years. So, Marc Watson. He's a stalwart. Yeah. He's been doing it for 20 years. Next year it's his 20th anniversary of being the Highland Park Global Brand Ambassador next year.
Is he the guy with the tattoos?
Yeah.
I've heard about him, but I don't think I've ever met him or seen him. So David,
he's
just
the most gorgeous human being. Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, well, we didn't even bother with brand ambassador. We went straight to the top. We're like, nah, we're gonna go straight for the whiskey maker. Talking of whiskey, do you have a dram tonight, or are you without drams because of family commitments?
Yes, impending second child, due any second. So I have a dram poured. It is the new Highland Park Cast Strength that's coming out in the new year, which is very exciting. I will nose it. I'll probably put it back in its bottle, and I'll have it celebratory in a couple of weeks' time, just in case I'm required to drive or anything tonight. I wouldn't do anything like that. So especially Cast Strength as well.
Woo. Yeah.
Congratulations on impending baby number 2. That's fantastic.
And just underline how grateful we are for you to come on and.
Well, that was my caveat a couple of weeks ago when Kat said, I was like, I am available, but I might not be. Like, that's it. It might be up to the wire, being like, sorry, it's not happening. So, or, actually, this is just a background, and I'm actually just sat in the waiting room right now.
In the hospital, yeah. I've been in hospital a few times the last couple of days, and there's no way the internet is that good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't believe that. But yeah, hopefully we get through tonight.
100%. Yeah.
And then good news on its way. Do you know what you're having?
We do, but it's a secret. We do. So we've been able to plan, but then nobody else knows, which is quite nice. It's quite nice having that little bit of power, a little bit of surprise for people and stuff like that. So we've got a 4.5-year-old. He knows, and he knows the name and everything as well. So we've been teaching him everything. So trying to just smooth that out. Whether that happens or not, don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll just figure it out. We figured it out the first time, so we'll figure out this one as well. So.
We thought that.
Yeah.
I mean, once you've got the first one nailed, the second one, the third one, just like whatever. Yeah, have some scissors. On you go. Knock yourself out. Not really. I'm a really good mother.
Survival of the fit. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, we knew what we're having both times, and we thought when we're having when Bria Rose came along, we wanted Killian to know he was having a sister. We just thought it'd help him bond. But now, every time we ask who she is, he just says sister. She doesn't have a name to him. He's just a sister.
Yeah,
who's that? That's sister. What's her name? Sister. Okay, kind of made a rod for her own back there. But I mean, he's not wrong.
Well, it's true. My youngest, when I was carrying my youngest, who's actually it's his birthday tomorrow, he's going to be 13. But my middle son, we were like, found out we were having another boy because I only breed male calves. So we're like, you got any suggestions for names? And he was determined we were going to call the baby T-Rex Roger. And I kind of regrets I didn't, like, what a banging name that would be. Like,
What a handle.
Roger.
Like, I hope that's his email address on everything. Like, I hope that's his YouTube handle, email address, Instagram handle. Like, that is T-Rex Roger is tremendous.
It's a fantastic name. Kids are such wonderful weirdos. Yeah. So, if you haven't settled a name, that's an option. Putting it out there, feel free.
Yeah. Love it.
Put it forward.
Oh, well, we've got some awesome questions coming in as well. There was one we're talking about names. Callum wants to know why your title is Master Whisky Maker instead of the usual Master Distiller or Master Blender. I guess you're Master Blender as opposed to Master Distiller, right?
Yeah. It's a nomenclature depending on which company you work for. Depends on title. I was Master Blender when I was at Famous Grouse. Highland Park uses Master Whisky Maker because we do all the blending. We put in all the whiskies together. The distillery and the distillery manager is run by Marie up at Highland Park. That's where all the distillation happens. I work on the direction of the liquid and the releases. They work on the direction of the distillery and the consistency of it, and I work very closely with them on it. It just depends on the company that you work for. Depends on the title that are given. So, yeah, pretty much my remit is to look after every single drop that comes out and is produced for Highland Park. And that goes from new make all the way through and working with the distillery very closely, and then work with the stocks. So we sample everything for the entire stock year at 8 years old. And we look at everything at that stock year, like all the cask types, where they are in the warehouse, the color that they're giving off, the strength that they're at, and that just builds us a big stock picture because we put everything together natural color. So we need to know that massively in advance. So if we have to make any racking decisions to top up color or anything, but at the moment I would say my casks are too good and my refills are really good. Which is making me struggle to get the color down to being on spec, which is always a nice problem to have. It's always a lovely problem when Gordon's like, hey, so these stocks are all really good. You're just going to have to figure out what to do with all the really good stuff. And I'm like, well, that's really lovely of you. Thank you, Gordon. That sounds like an interesting problem to fix. So it's really cool, but it's very much just a nomenclature thing. And it's something they've always done. And I think it's because we're separate from the distillery. We don't work at the distillery, work down in Glasgow, work at the bottling line end. Everything gets sent down to me, all 5,500 to 6,500 samples a year, depending on how many makes we've got and how much stock assessment we're doing. And it all comes down to Glasgow, and I look at it there.
Wow. How do you Are you going, Mike?
I was going to use a sporting analogy. Sorry, Kat. Mark, if you're into your football, I was going to describe you as kind of, you must feel like Pep Guardiola with the Man City squad, whereas he's got so many good players, and it's really hard fitting them all in and keeping them all satisfied and putting out a team that works. Is that a little bit like that?
Yeah. It is like that sometimes, I think, and it's also you see the potential of your stocks as well. So because we look at everything, we see stocks that don't have a home yet, where we've got some special stuff coming up, or some PX casks. I looked at some PX casks from 2017. Couple of weeks ago before I went off, and I messaged our stock guy and I was like, reserve these are incredible. He was like, reserve them for what? And I'm like, I don't know, but these need to be reserved. And you just sort of build your little pockets of stock and things you want to carry on and things you want to move into other stuff. And it does feel a little bit like that. Yeah.
Did you have any say in the stock that goes maybe off for indie bottling or in the secondary market? Do you control that part of it as well, or is that a different department, or how does that work?
It's a different department. So I work very closely with the department that it works on. Greg Slimes, Alistair Tweedley are the guys that sort of do that. I will, when I've done all my stock assessments, or even prior to stock assessments, if they've identified something we've identified something that we might not want, or isn't performing or something like that, then we'll ask them, and they'll say, oh, is it got value to them or not got value to them? So we have a very close, like, working symbiotic relationship with them, which is really cool. It's a really interesting model. It's like the Edrington model on it. It's really interesting. It all comes from us, from Highland Park, and goes to them, as opposed to their, like, trying to carve off little bits of stock, etc. So
yeah, it's quite interesting. It's a part that fascinates me, and a lot of the guys at home as well are. Once you kind of get into whiskey, and as a drinker and as a fan, you'll probably understand this yourself. Is distillery bottlings or core ranges have a certain appeal, but if you really want to get into whiskey, indie is kind of a whole new warren. And when we try to describe to new people to whiskey what an independent bottler is, for example, here's McPhail's. What is that? It's a non-named independent bottler. It could say Secret Orkney, the worst secret in the world, or whatever it is. And the one question we get, or the most common question we get, is, what's wrong with it? Why don't the distillery want it? And it's that task of saying it maybe just didn't fit their profile. It was maybe gone off too far off piste, or So from your point of view, what is it that would earmark a cask for that, as opposed to you using for your own stock?
I love this question. Highland Park for me, and we've sort of has to have a style, and it has to fit into four buckets. Has to have bold fruit, has to have that honeyed sweetness, it has to have that heathered peat smoke, so that floral peat smoke, super aromatic, and it has to have cask character. And if it sort of doesn't fit within those four categories, then we have decisions to make. Those decisions might be, we let that age on to see if it develops. We rack that into something that's going to change the direction of it and move it into direction if we need to. Or we earmark it for a future release if we're like, wow, that's really, really, really weird. We'll just keep that separate. Like, that's super weird. We haven't seen anything like that. We'll just keep that separate. That'll be for us. And then the fourth bucket probably for us is that we contact Greg and Alistair and say, listen, this doesn't fit with what we're doing, and it doesn't fit with, where we are, and this is the age of it, and has it got value to you? And if it doesn't have value to them, then it'll just stay aging on in our warehouse. So yeah, it's got to fit those four buckets for us, because that, we build all our core about pulling the levers on all of those four things.
Yeah, awesome. There we go.
That's really cool. So sorry, I was going to say, the releases that you're doing just now, is that something, are these like solely your projects now? Because you've been in the role for 8 months. So some of the stuff you're releasing, did you do in conjunction with, sorry, what was his name again? Gordon, isn't it?
Gordon. Yeah. So these ones are still Gordon, which is really nice. I've been along for the journey, seeing how it works. So the two Between You and I's, that's the 16 and 17-year-old that's just come out. The ones for domestic and ones for GTR, that was Gordon, like, given a bio for like somebody that was going to taste the whiskey, and like he put some whiskeys together. Now that person happened to be the only person in the world that has three-star Michelin restaurants. So no pressure, Gordon. Like, how do you, like, I would have had sleepless nights putting something together like that for somebody like that's going to taste that whiskeys, for Bjorn Franzen. So that's an incredible project to watch Gordon doing, because I've been there. I've managed to see him work. And then this next one, which is called Cask Strength Heather, and I can look, shiny box, here it is, nice purple, all shiny. Cask Strength Heather is Gordon's one that he sort of put together about a year ago. This is 100% peated on Orkney, and it's the most peated Highland Park we've ever released on purpose. I think it's the best way to describe it. So yeah, I think like 12-year-old is normally like 1 ppm, and this is 9. So like, I'm just setting everybody's expectations. This is very peaty for us. It's not very peaty, full stop. Does that make sense? Everybody? Hope that makes sense. It's absolutely delicious.
ppm in the bottle, was it?
In the bottle. I only ever work in the bottle, because I think there's so much out there. People talk about Highland Park being 30 ppm. Yeah, we peat to 30 ppm on the island, and then we blend it back with unpeated So we ended up being 1 ppm in the bottle. So it's just easier to describe. Like it's 1 ppm in the bottle. Cask strength heather is 9. It's a really cool mix of some really awesome refill, but all like, you know, our American and European sherries that we just get they're not good. And it's 63.6%, so it's big. It's a big one. It's really fun. It's super delicious, and it just is so effervescent and like marshmallowy and everything on the nose, and it has loads of texture. And yeah, just absolutely delicious. So that's that. Like again, watch Gordon put that together. Not taking any credit for it. It's Gordon's dram. But the stuff that we've been working on that's coming out, that will come out later on in the year, has been very much like a gestalt mind of Gordon and I's minds working together of like, we should try this, we should rake around in the stocks for that, we want to build this. And so that'll be about middle of next year, and then the end of next year will be my first gear coming out, and that will be terrifyingly, yeah, that'll be, we'll come back on and we'll talk about that, and then talk about how I haven't slept, and it's not probably because of the baby, it'll be because of the whiskey's coming out. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at first, like, I love the name Cask Strength Heather, because it makes me think of like just some big glass in the pub that you wouldn't want to knock into by accident, you know. Like, watch out for Cask Strength Heather, like, you know. But
she's knocking the door tonight. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that'd be something like seeing your whiskey at the end of the year on that shelf. Because I mean, I don't know if they've got a name, like the people that are really committed to Highland Park, have they got like a sort of fan name? Because they're like,
yeah, they've got Inner Circle is what we've got, which is like, and we've got the Highland Park Appreciation Society as well, which is like a Facebook group, and those guys are amazing. They've got like they've got everything. They've got stuff that we don't even have in the sample room, which is always amazing to chat to them about. Like it's incredible. So yeah, super knowledgeable.
I know it is. It's amazing what people, like, when they're so committed to a brand as well, like this sort of commitment, like this money they spend on finding like archive bottles, and you know, and a lot of them have got, especially the Highland Park fans, have got the beautiful tattoos from the old branding, from the old boxes and stuff. And like, yeah, I mean, that's quite a legacy to be taking on and kind of looking after and nurturing.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
very exciting for you as well. Not to put the fear of God in you there, by the way. Just
I
get lynched if they don't like your,
listen,
your first.
I very much feel it very, very acutely. Like, you know, don't mess with the core, and keep things exciting is kind of my mantra. For like, you know, just keeping things like, just trying to make it as simple as possible for myself, is like, yeah, make people really excited about our new releases, really dial up things that we haven't really done before or dialed up before, and then make sure that core is really solid and is the stuff that everybody loves. Because like 12-year-old is like my most fun to make and put together. Like I love it. Like I love when it comes in, like, you know, and people have such an affinity for it. And then 18 is like always, like, everybody always has that story of like, oh, I was here when I first had Highland Park 18, or like the first bottle I got from Highland Park 18 was like somebody bought me this when I was 18, or I bought it for my dad. Like everybody has those stories, and that, like, I feed off that kind of stuff because I am that whiskey drinker. Like I am a whiskey enthusiast. I love, like, you know, I've got loads of bottles, not just Highland Park. I was always a massive Highland Park fan. Was very disappointed when Dragon Legend finished, because that was, you know, I absolutely loved Dragon Legend. And so, yeah, just it feels, I'm acutely aware of everything that's like of my responsibility now as a whiskey maker, which is nice. I think you should have that level of trepidation. I think if I didn't have it, you know, it would mean that I wasn't caring. And I think I absolutely love and care for this whiskey. And, you know, I think that keeps me honest in that regard.
Amazing. Yeah, just the sheer scale of Highland Park, I think. It's what you're, and not only did you get the job, but you got it. Oh, cat's disappeared. Hopefully she'll come back.
Yeah.
I think, you know, not only did you take on the job, but you took it on knowing that you've got a wee one on the way. That's crazy dedication, and kudos to the missus for allowing you to kind
Yeah,
of jump in.
I think I think
Yes.
my wife is my like absolute biggest supporter, and she always has been. Like when we first met, I said like, listen, if I don't end up in Speyside, something bad has happened. Like that's the goal when I first met her, and obviously we haven't ended up in Speyside. But you know, I was like, that's the dream job is to be up there in the distilleries or be working for the distilleries, and she's always been there, like support me, and like I travel an hour and a half to work every morning and back because I live in Kinross and do all my sensory analyst stuff over at Great Western Road, and Katie has to deal with obviously being pregnant, but dealing with a like a toddler running around smashing the house up for 15 extra hours a week to let me go and sniff whiskey. So it's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool.
Awesome, yeah. So in your, I mean, it's when we talk to master blenders and finding that, you know, normally or recently we spoke to Adam at Brookladby, who kind of, they have their core range, but they're doing a little bit like yourself, where you've got lots of fun and you're trying to find things that are exciting and all that. How does that differ to kind of creating famous grouse when you're using casks and whiskies from 30 or 40, I'm not sure how many different distilleries, bringing them together to make consistency? What are the kind of pros and cons, or the ups and downs compared to creating Highland Park?
Yeah.
The single malt.
The single, like the narrowness that is the control of what Highland Park is. Like you've got to hit the colors, you've got to hit the character. Whereas with Famous Grouse, like we had a very clever, and we have a lot of infrastructure behind Famous Grouse that allowed us to do it. Where we had all of our whiskies, and they were all broken down into categories. So that was work that Gordon and Kirstine and Callum Fraser had all continued to do, and then Craig Johnson had all like pulled together. So anytime we bring in a new whiskey, or we get in, because everything at Famous Grouse is all done from new make. There's no cask being brought in, no trades happening, or very, very little trade. And if there is a trade, Greg's not happy about it because he wants it all done from the beginning. So we do, we bring in all this new make, we put it into these categories, and there's fruity and cereal, there's fruity and light, sulfury, lightly peated, and green grassy, and fruity oily. And that's this, every distillery you go from gets put into those categories, and that allows us some degree of give and take, substitution. If we've got some distillery from this year, we can swap that out for another one, as long as they fit in within that same category. And we do all that work at new make level, and then we do all that work again at 3 years old. Like Edrington is all about sampling. And so we sample everything that goes into Famous Grouse before it gets dropped, which is roughly about 80,000 casks of single malt a year as part of the blend, and then on top of that we've got all the grain. So like the scale of sampling. But the reason how that all works is we then what comes in, and we have them into categories. So we pull those categories in the certain percentages. We know those component parts all together to make sure the recipe works, and then that goes into the big Solera system, which is at Great Western Road, and those tanks are never empty. They're constantly being topped up on top of each other, and it just makes, instead of having a small batch size, it makes the batch size absolutely massive, which just makes consistency so much easier. And I know that Grants are putting in a very similar system now that they've got it as well, and they'll continue to do that. And I think what's nuts about Famous Grouse as well is like there's a huge percentage of first fill sherry that goes into Famous Grouse. Like there's a lot of first fill sherry that goes into Famous Grouse. American and European split. And then how it all works is our cask system trickles down. So we make sure then when we dump those casks, then they get reassigned based on the kind of color they've come out of, and it trickles down. And it just means that we're using our casks very, very cleverly as part of a big blend. And yeah, I loved working on it. It was incredible. Like I'd gone from like Holyrood and like tipping like casks in the tens to be tipping, like 180,000 liters. Or, the first day I turned up, Gordon was like, here, sign this. He was like, nose. I was like, nose. He was like, you happy? Are they consistent? I was like, yep, consistent. He was like, great, you've just signed off 500,000 liters. And I was like, oh, I literally like went outside and felt like I was having a panic attack. I was like, I've got like phoned Katie, my wife, and I was like, I can't believe I've just signed this off. What happens if it's bad? And she was like, Gordon would let you do that. And so, yeah, it's like they've got all these systems to make consistency the number one thing about Famous Grouse. Like it's so big. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing, and just the amount of first fill sherry goes into it is absolutely mind-boggling. And then it has all this marrying period as well, which is really cool. Like all these things you learn, and like the way that Edrington treat Famous Grouse the same way they always feel like everything is always the same. Like the way Famous Grouse treated the same way they treat their single malt. So like the new makers all know it's graded. They're all checked early. They're all checked at 8 years old. Like all these same things happen. There's no difference between Famous Grouse, the blend, and the single malts. These are all the checks are. And then you go up to Macallan, there's even more checks for Macallan and for Highland Park and for Glenrothes, on top of that. But the way it's treated is nuts. Then there's the marrying period as well. So, and then Famous Grouse and Glenrothes and Macallan are all filtered. But they're not filtered at like -1 or anything like that. They're all filtered before 4 and 6 degrees because they all get married for 21 days, and the system's amazing. Like it'll lock you out. Doesn't let anybody touch the tank. It literally locks them out of the tank. So the marrying period for Famous Grouse is 21 days, and the marrying period for the single malts is at least 30. And the tanks can't be used. The only person that has the key for that is a Master Whisky Maker for each brand, and they've never had to. Gordon's like, I've never had to do it. So it's just that goes into all the planning and everything as well. Like the planners are nuts, the planning teams are amazing. But Famous Grouse, very cool brand, very cool in terms of consistency. And then you get to Highland Park, and Highland Park 12-year-old, each batch size is between 157 to 160 casks.
Okay. A
mixture of butts and hoggies, and then a mixture of Americans and Europeans, and refill. And so I get it broken down into a list and percentages, and then I have to build it on natural color and character, and it's all done by eye and by hand. And I always thought that it would just be like generated or whatever, and it's on rails, but no, it's all all 167 samples come in. You build it on the bench, you build it for natural color, you line it all up for each tranche, because there's a number of years that go into 12-year-old as well. It isn't just 12-year-old, because we've got to protect our stock years. So 12-year-old has some 13-year-old, some 14-year-old, and also can have some 15-year-old into it, depending on how our stock years are, because you don't want to be stripping the same month. Say if I make a blend in January, I can't be taking all of January's, because then 18-year-old won't be available in January because I've taken everything out at 12 years old. So we've got to have all these like teeth of a comb in for each year and each age and each style of cask to maintain the stocks for 12, 15, 18, and then to give me something at prestige. So there's all this work that goes into the background to build that consistency and then develop that character. And like, as a whiskey enthusiast, Gordon's like, I'm going to show you how to build this. And I'm like, this is the best day, one of the best days of my life. Like, it's absolutely incredible. And it's all done by sampling. It's all done, all comes onto the bench with me. I pull the pipettes out. We check it all for taint as well. So we check it all for faults, and if a cask has a fault, doesn't go in, gets reserved, gets knocked on, and then we figure out what we're going to do with those casks. And we have a big remedial program that we have, and it's like a big decision tree. Like if the fault is this, it goes down to here. If the fault is that, we do this. If the fault is that, it does that. So yeah.
And that's the key, is it to, I guess, is it the consistency is when you've got that much samples, it would be impossible. You're not dissecting each sample, are you? You're just looking for something that would fit. You're looking for the rather than the great whiskies, aren't you?
Well, we dissect the samples at 8 years old, so we do the grading at 8 years old. So I will know everything from that stock year, every single cask that was ever produced at Highland Park that is still ours at 8 years old, and it'll be given a grade. So the grade is S, so single cask, and that goes out for our single cask series. And they get reserved and put aside. And then the grades are given as A, B, C. But I think I'd like you to think about this as a B is a standard. Like a B is what we expect a refill at 8 years old to be like, what we expect American oak at 8 years old to be like, what we expect a European oak at 8 years old, or port cask, PX, new oak, whatever it is in there. But the B is the standard. This is what we expect it to be. And an A is +1 than that. So if you imagine you're nosing along and you're like, B, 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 oh, that smells incredible. Is that S or is that A? It's pretty bright. It's pretty nice. Okay, we'll give that's an A. And then if we're nosing along, we're nosing along and we're like, oh, that's a bit flat, or I don't like that so much, that'll be given a C. And then all of our recipes, like I've talked about before, we've got the age broken down into age, and then we've broken down to the number of A's, number of B's, and number of C's that we have in each recipe as well to maintain consistency. And we've gone back in time. Gordon's been doing this for a very long time and seen how consistent it is in terms of picking A, B's, and C's and how they fold it into each recipe. So it's all about quality-based recipes. Layer that on with the single color, the natural color as well. So it's nuts. And then we've got X as well, which is in there, which means that we've got a European presenting as American, or American presenting as European. And then we've got our off casks. And if something comes along and we're like, boom, that's off, that's sulfur. We have a whole list of offs, and we've got them all set aside, and then they get reserved as offs. And then at the end of the year, I pull them all together and then treat all the ones that are sulfury and treat all the ones that are solventy, and there's not many of them. It's amazing. And we do all the remedial work on those casks and stuff. So yeah,
it sounds so much fun. But what is it the same with the great power comes great responsibility, and you've got so many fans hanging on for what you're going to what's the next stage. And you've come from Holyrood, and like I said, doing what is effectively, I guess, launching a brand or finding a core, or as close to a core as probably Holyrood are going to have, because they're still quite experimental and fun and playful, to being a custodian for this 200-year-old brand. What's the challenge or the difference? And I guess you have to reset your mindset, going from, look, this is fun, we can do what we want with Holyrood, to, right, this is the way we do things, and we need to continue that as much as possible. Obviously, you've got your fun stuff as well, your single casts and that. But
yeah, I think I've been very fortunate. Like I've had incredible people come before me, with Gordon and John Ramsey and Max McFarlane at Highland Park, which have sort of outlined and shown the way. So, I think having them there, be the template made it like easier. I think sometimes when you have too much creativity, it can be really like too much. There can be too much direction you can take something in. And I'll always feel about like giving, like sometimes when you have more rules, you become more creative. And so I think that's, the nice thing about Highland Park is that, yeah, I had to do a little bit of resetting, a little bit of like, this is the creative direction that the brand needs from me. And and this is where I would like it to be, and then having some serious and honest conversations with brand director and being on the same page with that, being like, listen, keep, the core has to be consistent. Everything has to come back to the core and get people excited about how good the core is, because we know it's good. And then how do we excite people outside of that? And like, if we keep that mantra really simple, it just allows the creativity to be scaffolded around that. Like, it's a really nice place to go from, because it means that nothing's really off the table to be exciting, for special editions and things like that. It allows everything to have a purpose and have a place and be exciting and go from there. But yeah, did take a mindset change, but I think Famous Grouse gave me that middle piece. I think if I just did it Holyrood to Highland Park, I think it would have been jarring. But I think having that, having Famous Grouse in the middle, which is like, hey, don't touch this. We need you to make this the same as ever done. And we still managed to release the sherry cask finish Famous Grouse, which is absolutely gorgeous. And that was, started by, I think, Callum, and then Craig Johnson jumped on that, and then it ended up getting launched in the UK when I was Master Blender. And that was really fun to do with Grouse. But Grouse is all about like, hey, be stable, be consistent. And it was like, a lot of learning for me. That's big for me when you've come from Eden Mill and you've got creativity at Eden Mill, where I was making loads of gins and put together their first release and everything, and then you go to Halewood, which is like building, and Bonington, which is his first distillery. So there's a blank canvas there. You get to work in, especially in that space. And then you move to Holyrood, which had an idea of like, let's do all this specialty malt stuff. Like, you get all these layers of stuff that you've built up all this knowledge and experience, and then you go to Famous Grouse and it's like, don't mess with this formula. The formula really goes. And you grow up and you figure out that, it does really go, and you respect the process. And then I just really respect Gordon and Max and John Ramsey's work, and they've given me this incredible pattern to follow. So it's really cool.
It reminds me of
hi, Kat.
something.
How are you?
No, I'm so sorry. Stupid internet. I literally went marching up the stairs, and I was like, right, who's on the internet? There was 3 children on the internet up there, so I've heaved them off.
I thought it was because you tied your hair up, and now your hair must have been absorbing all the Wi-Fi.
It was. It's like Medusa. It was sucking up the internet. It's how I'm like a little battery. It's how I operate. What you were just saying there reminded me of a quote I wrote down in the Hairdressers when I was reading it up on you. And I think it was an interview you did for Whiskey Magazine. But I'm a geek. I just like when people quote nice things about whiskey. So you said great whiskey doesn't just happen. It's about creativity and consistency, tradition and innovation. And that's exactly what you just summed up there in that paragraph about how you've got to have that consistency for your core range, but you've got to give yourself room for innovation as well, which for somewhere like Highland Park must be quite cool, because you guys got your floor malting and stuff as well. Like, how much of your floor malt goes into a production run, or do you ever do like sort of sport one-off releases of like 100% floor malt, or
Thank you for bringing us back to this, because this is 100% heavily peated floor malted on the island. Which cast strength heather. So trying to sum this up really nicely. The distillery consistency is nuts. The work that the people do, the maltsters, the malt man, and the distillers, the mash house do to make a consistent product at 1 ppm when they're floor malting. And then what happens is they then take the phenols from the floor malting, and they've got this a big table and graph, and they're like, right, okay, the floor malting is this much phenols. We need to blend that with this much unpeated to get to 1 ppm. And I've got every single charge of new make gets recorded, and it gets nosed before it gets approved, and we give it a grade. Edrington like, hey, listen, I was from a small distillery, and I was like, big boys only care about yield. Nobody cares about flavor. Nobody cares about character. Edrington doesn't KPIs on character, doesn't KPI on yield. And I was like, felt really silly when I was like, hey, yeah, but Gordon, it's all about the yield. And he was like, fuck, it is. I'm like, it's all about the character. Like, I was like, oh, geez, sorry. He's like, no, the distillery managers are all KPI'd on the quality that they produce, and we give them an A, B, or C grade, different from the stock assessment one. That's blended. Like they blend, like they get all these, got these math tables. Marie and the malt man will be like, hey, this is the phenol levels in this batch that we've made on the floor maltings. We're going to need this much unpeated to blend it down to make sure that the ppm is consistent in the new make spirit. Like it's nuts. It's amazing. I can't scream. They should be more lauded than they are, because I think that the work that they do is incredible, like at making a consistent product. For me to know every week and be like, hey, that's an A. It's nuts. So yeah, so we blend that in, and then that also, you're absolutely right, gives us like this cast strength heather, which is the heavily peated. So that's only stuff that's been floor malted on Highland Park. And then aged in our set of casks that we normally age on in, and then put together as cast strength heather. So yeah, it just allows us to play tunes. And then we've not even, tip of the iceberg for what we can kiln. We've just had a big upgrade in the distillery. New mash tun is in, new washbacks are in, and new heat capture and the way that kilns dry the malt has slightly changed. But the character was back on character within like a ridiculously small number of mashes, considering that we've had essentially a whole refit at the front end. Just the work that was done. Gordon was up there for a couple of weeks, but the work that was done with Marie and Ricky and James at the distillery, and their teams is nothing short of incredible to get us back on character. It's nuts.
Sorry, I just had to go let the dogs out. I didn't want to stop you mid-flow. The dogs were pining in the background.
Some of your sort of house characters, or your buckets, as you were talking about, which I like the idea of, similar to my distillery, which kind of makes me think, I don't know, kind of long fermentation kind of times, because we're very much about sort of the fruit, the honey notes, and we're quite similar. We've got the floor malting, kind of little round dumpy stills, and quite a long fermentation. So it sounds maybe quite similar to what you guys are doing up the road. But I was speaking to Ingvar. I always forget his last name. It's terrible. Who writes
Rond?
Rond.
Yeah.
Yes. He was around the distillery last week, the week before. And I asked him, I was like, is Glengarry the only distillery with a road through the middle of it? And we're stood pondering literally on the road. And he's like, no, I think Highland Park must be, he reckoned you've got a road because you had a lorry that took out your spirit.
It took out the pipe bridge, yeah. Yeah, we were off for a long time. Took out the pipe bridge. Yeah. There was something that took out the pipe bridge. That was right as I started as well. Right as I started at Famous Grouse, just finished. So it just finished being fixed. But we've got half the warehouses are on one side of the road, and the other half is and the distillery is on the other side of the road. The maltings and the distillery on one side, and then there's the big road, and then there's a whole bunch of warehouses down the hill. And I think Glenrothes also have a road straight up the middle as well. That also part of Edrington that has a road that goes right up the middle of Rothes, or at least has a path, at least has a dog path right up the middle of it.
Yeah. I think I think it would have been a right of way, but a single track. I don't think goes.
Oh, it's not. It doesn't go to anywhere. Yeah. It just goes straight up the middle of it.
Yeah. Macduff Distillery has a road that goes right through.
Yeah.
It literally, the distillery is on the left-hand side and all the warehouses on the right. But I can't think of many others that would have that.
I know it's interesting how, I love the organically, the way that distilleries and especially old distilleries are just blah. Like,
Yeah.
like they start off a focal point and they're like, oh, we've got to chuck some warehouses up here, and then we need to chuck some down here because this is where it
New
is.
film store here and
Like,
whatnot.
yeah, like we've just got to put this bit here, and like I love the cobbled together nature of you know, heritage distilleries. They're absolutely, you know, wonderful
Sometimes you
to look at.
we were at my tour today. I was at Ballindalloch, and it's very linear. It's quite
Yeah.
it's small, but you can stand at one end and look down and see every stage.
Yeah,
But you go back to somewhere like, I don't know, Strathyla or Glengarry. I haven't been up to Highland Park. I'm not sure how you guys are working it, but it's like you have to go when you're doing a tour. You start off in one place and you see another bit, and you're like, "Oh well, we're not going there yet because we have to skip that one and go over here,
yeah,
and then we'll come back to that." And you kind of,
yeah,
it's great, but it's just like a big jigsaw puzzle working everything together.
Highland Park's a bit like that. There's like upstairs and downstairs, and we got to go along here, and then we go through the kiln floor, and then we come around the corner, and we got to go up through this door, which will take us up to this side of the mash root house, and then go around, and it'll take us down past the mill, out to the stills, and then back up the hill. So yeah, I love the organic nature of how all these things were put together. Like, and then you, as you say, and then there's some new ones that are just like quite efficiently put together. And I remember like going to Aberargy, and it's like just inside a big box, and I was like, man, is this the dream? Is this the dream? Should this be? Because I'm like, this is just, it makes so much sense. Like it's like it just flows, and then it goes into a warehouse, and then it happens, and you know, it's just like, you know, there's something really, you know, when you're a distillery manager, as I was for like 9 years, you're like, man, this would be nice. Like, this is nice. Like, I
sit in one office, one seat.
Yeah,
and you
exactly. You can see everything, and yeah, it's just funny. Like, yeah, it's funny what's important for you at the time and everything. So, I saw a question that said, "How many do I taste, or is it all on the nose?"
Yeah, that's from Willis. So Willis is actually doing the Herriot-Watt course.
Oh, nice.
At the moment. So he's going to eke every bit of information out of you that he possibly can.
Yeah. So I would say about 95%. It's all done on the nose. We sign off every bottling, so that is after every filtration that is going to go into the bottling. We always sort of taste before the filtration, and we taste after filtration. And we typically taste when we're putting whiskies together. At the end, we taste them against the gold standard. But almost everything is done on the nose. Mm-hmm. Our sensory panel, you know, we have a lot of people on the sensory panel. We have, and then we have like a more advanced sensory panel, and then we have the expert sensory panel, which includes like head of research and whiskey makers, and we have different layers of our sensory panel, and we all do calibration every month. So one of our whiskey makers, Kaya Gazinska, she runs our calibration every month. And that means she pulls out a whole bunch of stock assessments, lays them all out for us, and we go through them all, and we're aiming for 75% same score per sample. And if we don't hit that, then we have a session at the end of it. At the end of it's normally out for 2 days, depending on how busy we are. We all get together, and Laura and Kaya and I and Craig Owen and we all go and say, like, why do we give this one an A, or why did we give this one a B, or why do we give this one a C, or why did we give this one an off, and then we come to consensus, and that's how we sort of just maintain our standards, if that makes sense. It's really cool.
I guess with an hour and a half drive home at the end of every day.
Do everything in the morning. Everything happens in the morning. And then nosing, I typically finish nosing about an hour before I get in the car, because they did a bunch of work at Edrington about how you could blow a positive breathalyzer test if you're nosing too soon to driving. So I think the cutoff is about 20 minutes, but I always try and give it as long as I can. And if we're staying late for a sample, the lab will start a timer for us to make sure that we're, they won't, they'll be like, hey, your timer's on, so you can leave after the timer goes off and everything like that, just to keep everybody safe, because there's, you can be doing a lot of samples a day. So
100%. And I guess even from a PR issue, if somebody sees you getting breathalyzed at the side of the road, then that's
not great. It's not great. It's not great. Yeah, it's not great. No, we typically do about 300 stock assessment samples a week. And then on top of that, we have our production samples. So that'll be Highland Park, Glenrothes, and Macallan bottling samples on top of that. So there's roughly about 13 to 14 of them a day, but that's split between the whiskey makers on site. There's normally three of us on site. So
you mentioned that you sample or you nose the whiskey before filtration and after filtration.
Yeah.
So this is a big thing for whiskey geeks at home, watching, and does filtration make a difference? And can you taste the difference? What would you say is the biggest difference between the same? Because nobody at home really gets the chance to. For me, the only comparison you could do is side by side exactly the same whiskey. You get the chance to do that. What would you say is the biggest?
Yeah, so it's really we nose the whiskey. There's like steps all the way through. So when it gets tipped, we nose it. Mm-hmm. When it goes into anytime it changes a vat, we nose it for positive release. Anytime water gets added, we nose it for positive release. Nothing can happen unless a whiskey maker essentially signs off, which is nuts. Like but that means we have to be available on site all day, and we get an hour turnaround between the three of us for any sample that comes in. We've got KPIs that we have to sign that sample off, so it allows it to keep moving through the system. Because we marry, we bring all for our standard bottlings, for our core bottlings, depending on the ABV of it, we normally bring it down to like 6% above where it's going to be bottled at. So we bring it down, and then it'll be married for that 30 days at that, like you see a Highland Park 12, which is at 40%. We'll bring it down to about 45.5, 46%, and it'll sit there for 30 days. And then that allows all the haze to drop out of it and allows us to get a clean filter. And we'll filter that at like 4 to 6 degrees, which it's really pretty gentle in terms of overall filtering. But it's also because, in the winter, it can be 4 to 6 degrees in the warehouse. And in the summer, it can be, ambient is quite high. So we go with the coldest temperature that we can bottle at. So it's the stability is the greatest. So, otherwise we would just do all of our bottlings in the wintertime. because without chilling it down, that's the ambient temperature of what the whiskey's at. So it's going through the filter at that ambient temperature. So it's a really gentler filtration process. We see it before and after. And I don't really notice too much of a difference. I know that sounds like I meant to say that, but I genuinely don't. Like, we do everything against a gold standard, which is a cask sample.
Okay.
And we we do it on taste, and I'd say there's not I think in a tetrad test I wouldn't get it right. I think that's it. Like, I'd probably be guessing. Like, I know, obviously I pour it, so I know side by side this is the post pre. But yeah, it's very interesting. I just saw a question: is the difference between 30 days married or just mixed noticeable? Yes. So crash the water into it and then taste it. It'll feel waterier. It's essentially the sample. What happens is that all of the chains that are all together and loads of our change, when you add water to it, they all break apart. So you've got the esters and you've got your fatty chains and everything like that. You leave them long enough, they all come back together. The best way to describe this is make yourself a gin and tonic. Have the gin there, fire the tonic in, and taste it immediately. And you'll always go and always say, "Oh, like, that's quite a watery gin and tonic." Whereas you do it and then you just leave it on the side for 5 minutes and come back to it, and you always get that like slick texture, like much bigger mouthfeel from it just sitting there settling. You'll see it in a whiskey, especially if you've got cast strength. If anybody's got cast strength in front of them, add a couple of drops of water. You see those swirls, those visometric whirls that are in there, just swishing around, and then when you leave it, they'll disappear again. Now, when you do it in a giant tank, it takes a lot longer. So that's why we wait at least 30 days, and then it allows us to filter at a much higher temperature. We're not we're still adulterating the temperature. It's more a tempering filtering than it is chill filtering. Chill filtering, for me, means taking it below -1. but there's no real definition of what chill filtering is. So yeah, I think for me, when you see it side by side, you can't really notice the difference.
Yeah, because I have heard that chill filtration will happen naturally to an extent in every single whiskey. So
yeah, because the ambient temperature, we don't, we don't. None of our warehouses are at 20 degrees. Like none of us are sitting at warehouses that are house temperature. Like it would be nice. Like I'm sure all of the guys in Whiskey Supply would love it if it was house temperature. They would all be in their shorts and t-shirts. But no, at this time of the year, those guys are all freezing and have got hats and gloves and scarves on and everything. And the ambient temperature will naturally be lower, especially in Scotland, especially at certain places. We see that in our maturation as well. You see temperature difference playing a massive part. Orkney temperature maturation change is different to Glasgow maturation change, and it's only an hour and a half on a plane. It's wild. We see a difference in the maturation curve on Orkney versus Glasgow with our casks stored in different places.
Yeah, crazy. There was another question coming in that I wanted to bring up. Callum asks it every week. Which is your favourite distillery from each of the regions and localities, from Speyside, Islay, Campbelltown, Lowland, and Highland? He has, so other than HP, I'm going to go one up from that and say none of the Edmonton, none of your own brands.
Yeah, fair. Highland. Now the pressure is on. Campbelltown, Springbank. I'm a Springbank nerd. I'll put Springbank on there. But recently, I've had some incredible Glen Scotia. So it's. But they had some local barley. I can't remember what year it was from. A couple of years ago was some specialty malt. Heritage grain stuff that was absolutely delicious and tasty. It tasted like a digested biscuit, which was incredible. Lowland, I think some of the whiskies that I've worked on, I think would be up there. Some of the distilleries that I've worked at. I've just got big love for Bonington. When you've poured so much time and effort into it, and you got to choose the still shape, like there's something in there that makes it my I chose them. That's mine. Like that, I did that. So I chose the mash tun. I chose the fermenters. There's something nice about that. Islay, Macchia Bay, Kilholman, Macchia Bay. Absolutely tremendous for me. Probably Bruichladdich up there as well, because I first tried Octomore when I was in Finland, working out there, and I was like, this is incredible. Like, this is nuts. It's so weird. That was when I when IBUs on hops were still massive in craft beer as well, and there was this big hop off versus phenol ppm stuff, and I just remember that being very vivid. So probably up there for those two. And then Speyside and Highland is a tough one. Lochnagar up there. I love the spirit that Lochnagar makes.
Yeah.
I think it's extremely underrated. I'm always just a big fan of that. And then it's tough. It's a tough one. It's a tough one for Speyside, I think.
You don't have to commit to one.
No, I don't. I can't. I'm going to think about that one. I'll put
You've
it
done
in
very
there.
well.
Yeah.
Ultimately, what Callum wanted you to say was Glen Scotia for Campbelltown, and he was happy. He stopped listening after that, I'm sure. But I don't know if you've met Callum before. He is the world's #1 Glen Scotia fan.
Must be very happy at the moment. Their whiskey is absolutely incredible.
They do some great stuff.
Yeah, they're just making some incredible things, and yeah, just like I feel like they're having a lot of fun. I feel like that.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, you know, you can tell distilleries when they're having loads of fun, and they're on a tear, and Glen Scotia's on a tear, and having loads of fun. And I feel like you can feel that in certain whiskies, like Glenelg is another example of a company that's just on a tear, but also I feel like they're having a lot of fun with it. Like Rassay, yeah, yeah.
So of the so you've been both ends of the spectrum. We've discussed that in detail. Of the new distilleries, say the last, you mentioned Rassay, so let's go back. What's Rassay, about 8 years now, maybe not quite 10 years? What are the kind of standout? What are the ones to look for in your opinion of these guys that are coming through now?
I had the Nicknean Simon for their Rebels or Quiet Rebels series, and I also had their liqueur. I don't know if you've had the liqueur.
Not yet, but it's on order, so it's coming in for Christmas.
Insane. It was so good. Very surprising. Yeah, Nicknean, really like Rassay. I really like the red wine cask strength. Thought that was very delicious. What did I have recently that I thought was really jumped out at me? I wrote it down because I was at Whiskey Show in London working. I was working. I was working, and a lot of the stuff that I really, really loved wasn't Scotch whiskey, and it just made me, very, very excited to try some stuff. I had Ferry Ocean. I don't know if you know Ferry whiskey, which is Norwegian, like from a tiny island in Norway, and that whiskey was just gorgeous. Like so good. I just absolutely adored it. And they had like one that was like at 57 point something percent, and it was the same liquid, and they had it down at like 46% as well. And you could try them side by side, and they tasted completely different, but they had like really nice similarities between them. I thought that was absolutely incredible. Loved that. And I really liked there was a French one called Holtz, and it was a rye whiskey. It was absolutely delicious. And yeah, I really enjoyed the Fuji single malt as well. Like, really like that. I don't know, what have you had recently, Mike, that has been delicious? Have you had anything that's really, really nice?
Well, the reason I asked this because in my Lucky Dip box, I've found a Dornish.
Oh, love, yeah.
Which was just so good from 2018. Really thick and oily and creamy and malty. And then I picked up a Meakin. Talking of the Arctic Circle kind of distilleries you're mentioning there.
Yep.
This is their Autumn Gale, which I got as a wee sample from a friend who started working there this summer. Kind of a little bit of a dream opportunity. She wrote to them to say, look, I'm looking for experience in whiskey, and they gave her a job. So
yeah, cool. That's amazing. Like, that's how it should be. Like, it's so good.
So I've just poured that. So I'm going to see. That's a Peter Dick Sherry, 5 years old. Autumn Gale, it's called. So, yeah,
I like that.
7.2.
Nice, good ABV.
Mm-hmm.
I went down. Gordon was being inducted in the ISC. Or he got the Lifetime Achievement Award for the ISC because he's been a judge for 16 or 17 years down there. And that was like really awesome because you like they have all the drams out of like all the winners all the way like around the side, right, of like every single product. Like if you want like RTDs, you can go and have some RTDs if you want, all the way around to the Scotch whiskey. And I had a Bowmore there that was in a port cask, I think, that just tasted like barbecue and like American barbecue food, and that's been stuck in my head for a while. because I'm just like I've been like chasing that dragon of like trying to create that barbecue flavor because it's absolutely delicious. But yeah, I think I enjoyed the Harris sherry cask as well.
Oh,
I
yeah.
enjoyed that. It was really nice. Dornoch, yeah, definitely. I've not tried the new Eden Mill one that Scott's put together. There's a big sherry number by Eden Mill that I'm excited to try. I've seen that out and about. It's not too far away from me, so I might nip over and see if I can. I've not been to the new distillery yet, so I need to nip over and see them and try that.
Yeah, we popped into the shop in St Andrews March this year. Was it? It's about that. I think it was. And they had their port cask, the sherry cask, and they had another. Was it an Amarone wine cask or
oh, nice, yeah,
Madeira wine cask? And yeah, all three of them. I got to sample them because Tony was driving. But yeah, really nice stuff.
Yeah.
I think she's watching actually, so I'm going to be careful on what I pour while she's on. She's in the hospital waiting to be seen. So
it's never fun. Never fun. I hope it
it's
goes
not.
fast. No, hope it goes fast. Yep.
I was quick to volunteer to come home and look after Killian at the house rather than go in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have to be ready tomorrow if we need to go in.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Just looking at some comments here as well. Reb Mordecai, good evening, Reb. You're turning up late. Not often you're late. We have talked a lot of whiskey, so this is definitely one that will interest you on the rewind. He's enjoying a Glenmurray Warehouse 1 tequila cask finish, non-chill filtered. He suspects that they could help pour some E150 in it. Old habits die hard. I don't think the Warehouse 1s have any colouring or filtration or anything like that off the top of my head, Reb. So hopefully you've got a whole natural dram there. And I was going to swing back to another comment. Kat is now watching on live. She's able to join us. There's not enough internet in Huntley for her to join us. Michael Cochran as well, who's jumped on Facebook. He is from Orkney, so he says he can't believe he's missed most of God's Country chat. So he's going to rewatch later. But good evening to you, Michael. Thanks for joining us. And thanks to everyone for a lot of the comments coming in. Some great questions. There was another one I was going to run back and see. I was going to bring up. Oh, Ian is now wrapping up his flight. So he had the W flight.
Oh, nice. That's some flight, that is some flight.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing because I think there's new Between You and I in there, Cast Strength 4 in there, which is really exciting. So yeah.
So he was finishing off about 20 minutes ago. He was on the last one on his school night nips with the cask strength number 4. So Ian, let us know what your favourite of the flight was, and any thoughts you had. It'd be great to hear your thoughts on them. This is really nice. It's peated, but it's not smoky. It's just like got an earthy depth to it. It doesn't feel like a smoky whiskey at all. It's kind of it's got that big sherry note up front, and then underneath just like a damp depth, a little bit like that Glen Scotia Springbanky kind of
like a funk to it.
But not peat. It's not smoky, or it's not that kind of peat, but it's interesting. We can't help but say it, lovely color, lovely mouthfeel, feels older than that 5 years. I'm not sure if it's because of the Arctic Circle maturation or.
It's interesting. It's really interesting. Yeah, I wonder what their temperature swings will be like. Massive, probably. Going from big negative numbers to big positive numbers in the summer and stuff like that. Like those big swings are really important chemistry-wise. So they'd be really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I saw somebody post a question about Bonington right at the start, and if I remember something about Bonington.
I think it was. I did see that.
Oh, yeah. How was Bonington as a new distillery with zero public face? Tremendous. Absolutely tremendous, having zero public face. Yeah, like, you know, when you start up a distillery from nothing, I think typically they have visitor centers attached to them, and to not have a visitor center meant that we could just focus on making really tasty liquid and whiskey, and not worry about, you know, when we were finishing, how we were finishing, like, you know, snagging. You know, it was always planned to have a visitor center. Then COVID happened, and then it didn't happen. And then, you know, the importance of the business changed to just being a production site, and it meant that, you know, all the space that we were, you know, had originally given over to a visitor center was then used for dunnage warehousing, and then subsequently, you know, used for more fermentation vessels after I had left. And yeah, it was nice to, you know, from working at Eden Mill, where there was tours all the time, and then working at Holyrood, where there was tours, and tours were very much part of the life cycle of those distilleries. It was nice not to have that. It was nice to just focus on whiskey making and whiskey, and just let the operators get on with it, and, you know, shut that big gate when the deliveries had happened, and that was it. So, but then the consequences of that are people don't know it. Like, you're not getting advocates of their whiskey or of your brand early on in its career, and therefore you've got to generate that credibility elsewhere. You know, so there is a trade-off with that. So
I guess it must be a big decision right at the start, because it's not just a case of, oh, we'll let visitors in. The whole layout of the distillery needs to be planned for that, doesn't it? It's not. It's not a give me.
Yeah, and we you know, fundamentally, you know, we still had that. It was still set up for, you know, we still had a tour route, if that makes sense, but it just was never installed. But the flow of the distillery was very much designed to, and, you know, the distillery was very much standalone. Like, you know, the malt went in the back, everything moved forward, and then the cask filling happened right in front of where the visitors were going to be. And that was all, you know, the flow was there, and then just that bit that was in front of that whole space, which was meant to be a big window, just never happened. Yeah, I think for my operators, they just got to get on with making whiskey, and I didn't have to worry about, you know, trying to fit public on a distillery. So as a distillery manager, it was very nice not to have to do it, but the liquid is very good. And then, you know, when I left, Jamie Lockhart took over, and he was an incredible custodian of that liquid, and making it, you know, as incredible as he could. Yeah, and I think the character, he was really trying to nail the character, because, you know, these things take time to bed in. Your stills take time to bed in, and generate the character you want to do. And the whole point was to go quite green, quite estery, quite grassy, but really oily, and that was the style. You know, it wasn't a lowland style that we were trying to aim for there. So
yeah, so I'm just trying to think as well of other distilleries who've kind of set up. Aberargy's one that they're not set up for visitors. Glasgow, I think.
Inchdarney, they have visitors round, but they're not. You know, they don't have visitors. Yeah.
And I think we were again we were at Ballindalloch, who now do tours, but when they set, I think they've only done tours for the last year, maybe 2 years, but they didn't do tours before that. So yeah, it's not uncommon. I think it's, but as you say, that you kind of lose that public ambassador kind of
just advocacy, isn't it? Like, it's just your the way that you want to do advocacy changes, right?
Yeah. But I guess it worked. I mean, you look at what Daft Mill have done. They've really kind of thrived off of that kind of very small batch, very limited. You know, oh, here's a bottle, and people just want it, rather than here's another bottle, here's another bottle, here's another bottle. You know, there's a balancing act between it, I guess. Reb is saying he hasn't bought an OB of Highland Park for many years due to the use of sherry casks. Reb is kosher, so sherry cask is mostly unavailable to him. However, he loves the Douglas Slang, Old Particular, the probably Orkney's finest distillery. They had a 12-year-old. I love it, and I touched on it before. It's the the worst kept secret in whiskey is the secret Highland or secret Orkney distillery.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel that they could just let people use Highland Park, or do you think that's going to stay?
Yeah, that won't happen. Yeah,
it's not going to change.
Nah, not going to change. No. Yeah, it's not a me decision. I just
no.
I just don't think it's going to change. They just want to protect what they're building, and I totally understand that. Totally understand that, because sometimes you get absolutely incredible single casks, but very rarely do people talk about the bad ones. But if you get a bad one, it can be not great for your brand as a whole. So I think it's just about protecting that. Very fortunate that Highland Park produces a lot of extremely good, extremely tasty whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them end up in independent bottlers as extremely tasty whiskeys as well. What you wouldn't want to happen is some of them going out to indies and not being what we want them to be, and having our name associated with them. And I get it. I totally get it. I get both sides of it, because I'm a whiskey enthusiast as well. So
Rem says, if the cask is bad, you can call it a Scaffa.
I had the Scaffa 16 recently, the new one, and it was absolutely delicious. It was absolutely delicious, and I think the bottle's gorgeous. Very cool. Absolutely loved it. I think everybody knows it's Highland Park, but it does give us that level of distance between it and not. And not.
And I guess the indie has the fallback that. It's that balancing act, isn't it? An independent bottler will fall by every release. If they create one bad cask, people will say, well, maybe it's just that distillery. We're not going to blame Douglas Slang. And then, but if they tarnish that name of the distillery, then somebody might say, well, I'll try another Douglas Slang, but I'm not going to try another.
Yeah, exactly. And and I think as well, we're very confident in all the quality checks that we have, that we do within the products that we have, and the robustness of them. And there's some independent bottlers out there right now that I know are probably even more robust than we are in terms of the quality checks, for that exact reason. They want all of their releases to be absolute bangers and to be worldies and amazing. And you look at stuff that Dornoch's doing or whatever like that, some of those independent bottlers are nuts. And even some of the, the small blenders are incredible with the Woven and stuff like that. And their quality controls are incredible.
Woven are amazing.
It's the ones that we just don't know and just don't have the quality. They just buy a cask and launch it. And, they're the ones that scare me. So,
Woven
are amazing.
Yeah, it's so good. We've had Nick on the Blether, we had Peter on quite recently as well. Doing some great stuff. I just want to touch you do your checks after 8 years. Is that when you kind of decide or have an idea, or how soon in the cask's life do you think this isn't going to make a Highland Park bottling? It's going to be go to blend, or it's going to go to the secondary market, or is that 8 year line, or can some happen before that? Or
no, 8 years is where we're gonna look at what our portfolio needs to be built on. We're gonna look at why what we need at our first release is at 12 years old. So we have 8 years old to 12 years old. We look at our entire portfolio and go, can we in this make year make everything that we need within the recipes that are built? And in those recipes we need A, B's and C's. And we need this many A's, this many B's and this many C's, and we'll build that on a curve, and a year-on-year curve. And what we're looking for is a very set, delimited. We're looking for, this many A's in a percentage, this many B's, and this many C's. And from that, we can build everything in our portfolio for that year, and we're happy. If we were looking at that graph, and I did stock assessment for, 2018, and there was loads of B's and no A's, I would then have 4 years, because I've got to order the casks, I've got to bring them in. I've got to fit them into Whiskey Supply's planning schedule. I've got to bring the cask down from Orkney. I then have to get the cask racked into American or European sherry, whichever, or really good refills if we need to top up the refills. And then I need that time to get to 12 years old to allow it all to happen. So there's a readjustment period that we need, and we need all of that 4 years. Because typically what we used to do was do a stock assessment at 10 years old and then really have to rush that process through and get the cast in really quickly and be like, okay, we really need to readdress these casts. We need to readdress this balance. Now, quite fortunate, we've got, a surplus of stock at the moment for some stock years, so we can dip into those to top it up. It didn't used to be so much of a rush, but now we're just a bit more proactive rather than being reactive. So doing it 8 years old, everything should fit into those 4 categories that I already talked about.
Yeah.
And if they do, and we're given the A's, B's, and C's, we know how it's going to fit. And then we look at our resultant volume and go, what's in our resultant volume? Can we build our special releases out of our resultant volume that's outside of core? Yep. Cool. And then after that, all those decision trees are made, being like, okay, what's still available? What's still remedial? How do we look at that and everything? So,
right.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a lot of spreadsheets.
Just one.
One. Wow.
Yep. Just we have huge systems. We have the infrastructure that they've built in Edrington from the ground up for a number of years. Our stock system, the work through Power BI, and then I will caveat that I very rarely, I'll say I don't do any of this work, but I very rarely work on the recipes, and I work on the quality-based portions of the recipes, how many A's and how many B's and how many C's go into what the gold standard as 12-year-old is. But I've got an incredible planner called Alistair McCara, and he is Geppetto, and I am Pinocchio. And he is a wizard, a whiskey wizard, one of these unseen, behind the curtain Wizard of Oz type characters that is absolutely incredible and a part of and before Gordon used to do all that, and he used to have planners and he used to feed into it, but now it's all run through Alistair McCara, and he pulls all his spreadsheets out, and he's got a big solver. It goes through like a proprietary solver that does all the work, and just an incredible tool for us, because we can sit there and Alistair can say, hey, listen, we've carved out everything we need for the core next year. This is what you can have for whatever you want to make for, whatever project you've coming up. This is what you can have. So, and it just gives me that freedom to go away and create and be creative.
Yeah, outstanding. I love it. Love how passionate you are about and the knowledge you've got. Right, you Master Whisky Maker. You've got to have this knowledge. I guess it's not something that
Mike, I've just got to know the right people in the business. That's it. Like I just sniff stuff for a living. There's very, 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 very clever people at Edrington, and I am. I would describe myself as an idiot savant in terms of that. I'm just good at sniffing, and the front end. Yeah.
I think you that must be the biggest downplay of any master blender. I just sniff stuff for a living. That's a t-shirt almost.
I'm the organic computer. They've got all the stuff behind the scenes that make it all work. I'm just the organic. So
in a way, I'm kind of gutted that Kat's not on just now, because she would have picked up on that with some kind of remark that would have been hilarious. I'm sure she's probably sitting at home chortling away to herself with whatever's going on inside her head. Reb is also asking, and I'm going to put my own on this. Why don't Highland Park do more official bottlings purely in ex-bourbon? Because everything has kind of a bit of a sherry in there. What I'm going to ask for is, can you please bring back Dark Origins, because that is
mate,
my favorite Highland Park there's ever been.
Twofold question, I suppose. One, if you like Dark Origins, you love Gordon's retirement whiskey, Sherry Skies. It's very much akin to Dark. He just wanted to make Dark Origins again, but a little bit older and with quarter casks. That is what Sherry Skies is. It's very much his nod to Dark Origins, because Dark Origins, Twisted Tattoo, people love these drams. Like they absolutely love it. Dark Origins was, at one point so chunky it was stripping out. The reason why it was stripping out too much of our portfolio of first fill for a couple of years, and it was unsustainable. Like, and so we had to readjust it because of that, or so the story goes. We love, as a Highland Park fan myself, Dark Origins is nuts good. It's absolutely incredible. Twisted Tattoo as well with the red wine in it, everybody raves about as well. It's very Marmite. So I totally feel your pain with the Dark Origins. If you are bidding on any third-party sites for Dark Origins, please let me know first, so you and I are not bidding against each other. So I try and pick up a ball like every now and again. So I will check in, and I'll check in with your chat as well, and be like, hey, just to let you know, I'm on this site, and this is the one I'm going for.
Runs out on Sunday.
Pick another one. This is the one I'm on.
We'll split it.
Yeah, exactly. Official bottlings in ex-bourbon. It's a really good question. We don't fill a lot of bourbon. And when you don't fill a lot of bourbon, it's hard to release consistent products with bourbon. That's the nature of it, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
We're working on filling a little bit more bourbon because I really like Highland Park aged in ex-bourbon, and I want to use it a bit more. You'll probably see that in a few years' time. And then I think there'll be some special releases next year that use new oak casks rather than sherry casks, because I absolutely love what new oak gives to Highland Park. And one of the releases for the Between You and I was all Swedish new oak, which was awesome. It was all like sandalwood and citrus, like a lot brighter than Mizunara, but less perfumed. It was more citrus and bright and stuff like that. So there's some options out there. I really, really like Highland Park in bourbon. I think that sweetness to vanilla ratio goes really well. But like I said, Gordon only filled 1% of our fillings each year in ex-bourbon, and that isn't enough for consistent releases for our for the size of bottlings that we do for our core products, etc. So we're in the process of looking at that and adjusting that to have a little bit more ex-bourbon to play with. And then I think Rebs well said, is it true that Highland Park ex-sherry casks are 80% European and only 20% American white oak? That must be expensive. So what we do is we have different casks. Sometimes we have hybrids, but they have been unintentional. So we typically have European oak casks, and they're 100% European oak with European oak ends. Everything about them is European oak. We can trace them back to the places where they're cut and made. We're very fortunate that our lovely sugar daddy Macallan owns the cooperages and the and really has been working to develop them. And then for American oak, all the casks that are American oak, all are sourced American oak and built as American oak, and we fill them separately. We don't try and combine them. We have done work in the past with hybrids. We have received some hybrid casks that we're not sure about. We see them in stock assessments. They're very obviously, you nose them and you're like, yep, that's a hybrid. It's way too much American character to be the European that's listed in, or vice versa. And then we set them aside on our stock portfolio to say these are X, and then we give it a grade. And then it just means that when Alistair looks at it, goes, oh, there's an entire tranche of stuff that is listed as American and becomes European. Casks very expensive. Our sherry casks very expensive. And we do a lot of work every year in research to make them better and more consistent, as much as you can do for a cask. Highland Park, Macallan, Glenrothes have been working with sherry casks for a very long time and making them more consistent and, getting the quality to the level and getting the tannins to the level we want the tannins at, and the toast and the temperature and the time. All these things go into the factor of what the casks are and the makeup of the casks are. And we still have a grading system that is ABC. There's, you still have consistencies and inconsistencies between them, the way the wood responds to heat, time, the wine that's been used, and then the spirit that's been filled with. Like, we still get, you can do all the work and research as that you want, but you still, it's still a singular product, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think that's what we love about it, isn't it?
It's very cool.
It's evolving, it changes, it's natural, and and it is, at the end of the day, a decision made by you and your team. This is what we want to put in, and some people love it. Most people love it. Hopefully, you'll have that little element of people who are like, you'll have the naysayers right from the start. I'll say, "Oh, it's not like the old days. It's not like when I was a lad and having, it's changed." And I guess we all have to kind of take that in the chin and kind of say, let's move on. We'll find something you like. Highland Park has gone through, since we opened the shop, 3 or at least 2 brand changes, bottle changes. The most recent come in just in the last year. Does that impact, if the liquid stays the same, how does that impact the sales? Do you find positive feedback on it, or is it?
Yeah, it's been, for me, very detached from it. I think, anecdotally, what I'll say is I've had more questions about, is the liquid change for Highland Park, and Gordon got them as well. Like, has Highland Park has the liquid change with the pack? Because people are like, oh, we find it's less peated than it was before. And I'm like, nah, it's just not a dark bottle. And I think that there's people drink with their eyes, right? It's what we do. We eat and we drink with our eyes. So if it's in a light bottle, in a light pack, I think people are finally understanding that it's a lighter liquid than they previously thought.
I guess you can't get much less than 1%, 1 ppm.
ppm. So it's bang on and really consistent, and I think people just drink with their eyes. So I think so for me, it's an interesting one. I love that. I love the science, big on the science of sensory analysis. Did a lot of work on the sensory panel. Then Kaya joined, and we hired her from, she was at Swery, then she went to Chivas, and then we hired her for the work that she could bring to the sensory panel, and the work that we can do on our sensory panel, because we do, whole bunch of work for Macallan and the whiskey makers there, for Brugal, for Wyoming, for Glenrothes, for Highland Park. It's all done through our sensory panel. And I think there's definitely a science to that, of we've moved to this lighter packaging, and all the questions I've had are has the whiskey changed? We're nope. We haven't touched it. Gordon and I have not touched anything about it. And it's just, the new pack and the new world, I would say early on was quite Marmite, because people really liked what it was before, but I think it translates a lot better and it translates a lot wider. And, you don't want to be an inch wide and a mile deep. At the moment in Scotch whiskey, you want to be, and I'm not saying you want to go the other way either, being, an inch deep and a mile wide, but you do want to find that happy medium that appeals to as many people or as wide of people as you do. And the end of the lifespan of the Viking stuff and everything had just sort of come to a natural sort of conclusion. And then when the new thing comes out, obviously nostalgia is like the 7th sense, and people get really nostalgic, and people don't like change, and it's fine. That's okay. And it's okay to understand. And I think all those decisions were made pre me. And so when you come in as the new face of it, and people are asking questions like, has the liquid changed? And you're very staunchly can say, no, it's not. Then that's, I've got all the records that Gordon's got since 1999 when he joined the business, of every single whiskey that he is, every single whiskey that we've ever made for 12 years old and 18 years old, and all the minute percentage little variations and changes that have all happened to manage the stocks. Gordon's got all that, and he's just pointing to it, being like a proud proud father points to be like, this is my life's work. This is my legacy that I've done. Of like, look how good 12-year-old is, and it's nuts. It's so good. You know, and he's like, this is when we introduced American, or didn't introduce American oak. This is when we split out American oak and European oak, because before they just had one code, but we knew that we were putting in a certain amount of each one. So yeah, wild.
Awesome. We have coerced Kat to come back. Hi, Kat.
Hello. I'm sorry. I would have come back sooner, but I just thought me dipping in and out is just such a distraction. So I thought I'll just sit quietly and watch you. So I iced a cake while I was watching you guys, and I think my two favorite quotes of the night are, "I just sniff things," and "Macallan is our sugar daddy." Like, honestly, I am keeping that. Like, that's just that is tickled me pink.
Yeah, I mean, just the work that Macallan do and have done, and the size that they are. Let's be honest, the size that they are. They're an incredible, juggernaut of quality. You know, they're nuts. You know, they are, and they have, invested all this money into the infrastructure of their, acorn to whiskey process, and we're very fortunate that we're involved in that. We're involved in that, and that we get access to the same wood, and our cast specifications are closely guarded secrets between all the distilleries, but we're all part of the same, being part of the same sourcing of all that wood and everything. Is nuts.
Well, we're part of the same family. We literally, I'm Glengarry, so we made our way. Like, we're like in a bottle together.
Yeah, exactly.
It's nice. Yeah, it's weird that I've just described it like that, but yeah, it's nice. But it's been such a fun chat. Honestly, I wish I could have been part of it more, but because it was so good, I just wanted people to listen to it and not have me like interrupting every 5 minutes. Like, here's me, no, I'm going. Here's me, no, I'm going. So yeah, it's been awesome listening to you talk. Really, really cool.
And I'm just saying how much passion you've got for it, and every answer, every question that you've answered, and then some. You kind of clearly know you kind of 10 years is a long time for you, or not a long time for you to be where you are, but you've shown tonight just how much passion and knowledge and depth in all your questions, all your answers has been amazing.
But you've explained things that 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 we kind of know the words of, but never really got into any depth about. You've been very honest and open about things that go on in the industry, or things you do as part of your day job, which is awesome, because it's just kind of really opened up actually what you are and what you do. I don't think we've had such a thorough explanation of like what goes on a day-to-day basis as somebody like in your role. So it's been really, really cool to listen to.
Thank you. Hope everybody's enjoyed it. I just enjoy chatting about it. So yeah,
we can tell. It's been great. You make our job easier when you give answers like that, because we can just sit back and enjoy it and really get sucked into the answers.
So yeah, especially for me, I didn't even bloody turn up for this chat. It's been awesome.
You don't get paid for an hour tonight.
I live in the middle of nowhere. I know how frustrating it is to get terrible internet. Like I feel your pain. Like.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna complain. I'm gonna phone up AE and say, "Do you not know who I am?" Like, we'll get it fixed. You are a Blether, and you're part of the family now, though. So please come on.
Yeah,
I'd love to get you back on, like when we kind of move into, your liquid, like your own sort of stuff, and see how that journey is going. And if you're ever up the road, come past. Because we've got obviously Callum. Who you referenced is our Callum now. Callum Fraser?
Yeah, he's your Callum now. Yeah,
he's my Callum now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, ever up the road.
Who left with the most detailed notebooks, by the way, like incredibly detailed notebooks on like all the decisions that he'd made and everything like that. Like just nuts handover in terms of what he'd put together for Craig and I, of just really detailed notes and everything, which took a little bit deciphering. But for me, I was like, oh, I know exactly what he's talking about here. And like, this is easy for me. So yeah.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, he's a clever guy. Yeah, really, really nice guy. So yeah, awesome. Thank you.
I mean, I'm just going to say it would be great to get you back, but the trajectory you're on, you're going to be like Master Blender of the world pretty soon. So
no, I'm good. I'm good now. I'm good now. Good now. Listen, like I love learning. I think it's really fun. Like I think genuinely, I think that's pretty much served me. Like what I really just love learning, and I love like figuring out things and pulling stuff apart, and like I love the puzzle of whiskey. Like I love the puzzle of making whiskey, and I think that's I find it exciting. And I'm terrible at drawing, and I'm terrible at writing, and I'm terrible at all these things. Like I think my creative fibers come out just in making whiskey. Like it's the only creative outlet that I seem to be any good at, other than really bad drawing with my son. So I think it's just like when you love something, like it's easy to chat about, it's easy to learn about as well. So no, I'd love to come back. Yeah, like I say, this time next year we'll have stuff that I've put together to talk about, which will be really fun, and I'll make sure that everybody gets a dram, and we'll go from there.
Very much looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you everybody for the questions as well. I really appreciate them.
It's been some great questions. We wouldn't get much chat if it wasn't for you guys asking questions. And if you're watching on replay, please do ping them in. We'll try and pick up on the chat and get any questions to Mark. Mark, I'm going to ask you, we're going to say cheerio, but could you just stick behind for a couple of minutes afterwards? There's a couple of things I want to ask you off air. No big secrets or anything, just a couple of comments I've had from people wanting to get to know you a bit better. We were going to announce next week's guest. Unfortunately, we just heard today that they have had to pull out, so we are working on somebody new coming in. We will let you know as soon as possible for that one. But apart from that, we are booked up for the rest of the year. Mark, if you know anyone who can join in last minute.
Listen, I would say get Kaya Gazinska from Edrington. She's a whiskey maker on, and she will talk to you all about sensory and all about the sensory work we do. And she'd be really good fun for you to have on and have a chat about. No, like obviously bringing up.
If you can just tell her, just tell her.
I'll point her in your direction. Yeah. And you and Kennedy from the Macallan as well. If you can grab him, I would thoroughly recommend him. You've already had Pete on from Woven as well, and Brendan Cook from Wyoming, Laura Rampling from Glenrothes. I'm sure all of them would love to jump on and chat to you. Really fun format for us. So
I think Kaya and I follow each other on social, so I might just actually keep in touch. There you go.
Yeah.
Mark says.
Mark says get on, get in and do it. I think she would love to do it. I mean, but her knowledge and the way that the work that she's done on the sensory panel, I think, if you think I'm interesting, I'm not very interesting, probably quite boring, but she is extremely interesting, and her journey as well from her career and stuff is nuts as well. So yeah.
Understand. We'll look forward to catching up with some of these guys, and we'll check them out. Once again, just one big final thank you, and thank you to guys for watching. It's been superb. We will see you all again hopefully next week, if not before. Mark, final say, Dominic is home, just said, if you're coming up to visit Cat at Glengarry, make sure you pop and past the shop or the Foghouse bar in Inverurie and say hello as well.
Love to, absolutely love to.
Awesome. Good night, guys. Thank you so much.
Night.